Howdy folks, welcome back to Boondockery. I'm out on my first wild camp in quite some time, and all kinds of crazy stuff has happened the past couple weeks. You know, the entire family fell like dominoes to coronavirus, all this other stuff. It's been a crazy couple weeks, and apologize for not being able to post anything or really do much of anything during the course of that time. I was finally able to get back to work, and when I did, it did me in. I get back from work and I'm just done. I'm just completely wiped out. So I'm about 80% right now, and I decided that I felt well enough to do this overnighter at my secret fun spot, and we're just gonna have to see how it goes. But anyway, I'm gonna be testing a lot of stuff. I'm going to be using a lot of stuff, and the temperature right now is 25 degrees, and it's supposed to dip down to about 10 overnight. And so I'm going to get a chance to see how my Special Forces sleep system does in that extreme cold with the complete system. The first time I'm going to be able to do that. So I got a lot of things planned, and I'm inviting you to come along. Well folks, I made it, fairly close to where the gorge system starts and all the cliffs and all the pretty rock stuff starts. And you may have heard me mention this from time to time whenever I come to my secret fun spot, how dangerous this place can be. So you really, really have to pay attention to what you're doing. As a result, I always make certain that I stay well away from anything that looks the least bit iffy. And that includes wet rocks, snowy, icy conditions, and things like that. Well, the secret fun spot has just reminded me that it's full of surprises. I'm gonna step out of the way here. Now, step down here. Now, you can't really see it real well, but this whole flat area, it just looks like it's got a little bit of surface ice on it, like I've been crunching on all the way back here. Well, it's not surface ice. it's like permafrost. I mean, it's super deep and super thick. And as a result, I just went over to take a few pictures of this beautiful waterfall. And before I knew it, I was on my side, and pretty hard. Really, really hard. Something broke in my backpack. I have no idea what it is. Haven't opened it up yet. But something went crunch pop. Hopefully it's nothing that I really, really need. But see, that's the thing, folks. Whenever you go out and do anything on your own, you have to be mindful. Now, I was being mindful when I went over there because it's perfectly flat. It's nowhere near a cliff or a drop-off. I thought I was safe. Well, surprise. No, you do. Whenever you go out by yourself, there's all kinds of planning you have to do with it. Exploring, scouting, recon, things like that of the area before you decide to come out to do overnighters and things like that. Especially in areas where you don't have cell phone service, limited radio communications, things like that. And you are a good distance away from your vehicles. These are all things you have to take in consideration. And then, once you've taken them all into consideration, once you get out, you got to keep your wits about you. You have to be mindful. And every step you take, you have to think about that. And that's the one thing, like a lot of folks, when they get out, they try to overdo things like that. They wind up hiking themselves until they're exhausted, they're tired, they're not really paying attention to what they're doing. That's when really bad things happen, because you're focusing on the pain, you're focusing on the discomfort, and you're just plodding along, not paying any attention to your surroundings or what the possible hazards are. Whenever you get to that point, you need to stop. You just need to stop. Rest, get something to eat, and in the future, if you're pushing yourself really hard because you miscalculated where the next campsite was going to be or something like that, you need to chalk that up as to a valuable, valuable lesson. And don't do it again. I see all kinds of folks that's their driven purpose is to put her in overdrive and get there. And almost every single time I see these people doing that, their heads down, trucking poles. Look at all this. It's absolutely gorgeous. And when your head's down because you're tired, you're trying to push to the next campsite, you're missing 100% of it. It is pretty. This pathway right through here, this game trail, I have to take this down, go all the way down and around that rock face right through there, and maneuver around up and down quite a few more things, and then work my way all the way around the base of the cliff area to get back around to climb up the hill to get up to my rock shelter I'm going to be staying at. Given the conditions that are out here, I may or may not be able to get there. And if I can, great. If not, oh well, I'll go for a plan B. I'll find someplace else to stay. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and turn the camera off. And I'm very, very carefully going to make my way down around through there. If by any chance it looks questionable, I'm not going to tempt fate. I'm going to turn around, come on back up, and we'll find someplace else to stay tonight. Well, folks, no, I'm not going to try it. I'm not going to try it. The areas that are ice, they're too close to the drop-off. The drop-offs are significant. One of the ones that I was looking at a distance is nothing but sheer ice, a large area, very, very smooth. We had a lot of warmer weather last week, so all of the snow that we got, and we had a significant snowfall here, and a lot more so than I did where I live, by about 6 to 8 inches more. That's why all this stuff is still here, even with the warm temperatures we had last week. But what that has done is it's caused a melt that when it solidifies again, it turns back to ice. It is super slippery and super thick. You can't get any purchase on that. If I had ice creepers and my trekking poles, might be a different story, but I would say probably not. I'm just a little attached to my mortality now because I don't have a whole lot of it left. And so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and grab the camera, and I got to do a little recon and see what we can do about finding a spot that I can actually get down to. All of the rock shelters require some amount of downhill in order to get to them. We're on the lower end of the ridge on a fairly flat, I mean it's rolling hills, but fairly flat shelf compared to the cliffs and the drop-offs that are here. And it's not supposed to rain tonight. I do have my poncho, so I do have, you know, limited shelter as far as overhead shelter goes. And when I'm planning on using the rock shelter, of course you have overhead cover. And so I'm going to see what I can find. Going to do a little recce, and if I see something interesting along the way, I'll fire that camera back up. But if not, I'll bring you back with whatever type of camp location I find. Well, folks, after about, I have no idea how long. It's been more than 2 hours of trying to find a way to get down to any of the rock shelters, and I can't do it. The ice is just too much, and so I've been looking around the terrain here, and the ground is either soaking wet just below the surface, or it's frozen solid. And which the frozen solid wouldn't be that big of a deal, except I can't get rid of all the sticks that are poking up through the ice. And I have an inflatable air mattress, and that's going to be a pretty big issue. So I'm either going to be laying in sopping wet duff just below the leaves, or I've got 5-6 inches of ice with all kinds of sticks pointing up through it. I'm very frustrated right now, and everything I wanted to do, I want to go through my winter kit. I want to show you everything that's in the pack, stuff like that. I was going to show you how to choose rock shelters to camp in, and that is not going to be feasible. So I have labored over the decision of this, and what I've decided to do, and I'm kicking myself because, you know, I could just turn this into a survival video and how to do this, but I do want to show off the winter kit and everything there. So what I've decided to do is I've decided to go ahead. I'm much closer to my vehicle than what I normally am when I'm at the rock shelters. And so I'm going to go ahead and go back to the vehicle, and I'm going to relocate at my semi-permanent camp. That way I'm going to be able to do most everything I was wanting to do, especially showing off the kit and things like that. And I've already got tarp shelters erected there, so I have dry, good soil to be able to lay out my bedroll and everything on, and it's just going to be a little easier. And if you think I'm just wimping out, think what you will. I've spent a lot of time pondering this as I've been walking and slipping and falling and everything else, trying to find a decent rock shelter. And the rock shelters are probably just going to be for another camp. I'm going to go ahead and head the next couple miles back to my vehicle, and I will bring you back when I get to my semi-permanent camp. And I'll have a lot more to show and a lot more to talk about. And because I've been moving around, I haven't eaten anything yet either. So I'm going to be able to get a chance to eat when I get to the semi-permanent camp as well. So until then, folks. Oh Lordy. Folks, I am at my semi-permanent camp, and it's been an ordeal today. But the terrain here, the conditions here, it's like it's a different state. Where the secret fun spot is, completely different elevation there. They had a tremendous amount of snow, ice, and things like that with the last storm that we got. And in comparison, we had about 5-6 inches, maybe 7. But they received about 6 to 8 inches more than that. And like I said, last week we had temperatures in the 40s. One day it hit 50, pretty much the entire week, dropped down below freezing every evening. So you had that thaw and the melt and then refreezing, things like that. So the amount of snow that they had is the reason why the ground is so either completely saturated and wet, or it's completely frozen. There are trees, there are hills, there are all kinds of things that block a tremendous amount of the sun throughout the day in little sections. And because of that, you have those areas to where it's basically permafrost. I mean, it is deep and thick. And it's just that here it's completely different. The ground feels almost dry. You don't see the standing water and the leaves and stuff like I did at the secret fun spot. So this is going to be a much better situation for what I wanted to get done and what I can do. So I'm going to go ahead and ground the pack and go ahead and get started. One of the biggest things I was really wanting to do is to lay the entire contents of my winter pack out. Now, with the exception of the food and water, everything I have in here can sustain me up to a week with no problem whatsoever. The only thing that would be the differentiation on that would be if my environment changed just like it did today. I did not, even though I have a poncho, I have a very small amount of shelter if I couldn't have had the shelter that I was looking for with the rock shelters. Other than that, everything that I have in this, if I were to be able to camp in my rock shelter, I would be very, very comfortable for up to a week. Again, the only caveat to that would be the food and the water. The water source I have near any of the places that have rock shelters is fantastic water, and it's plentiful and it's fairly easy to get to, and so the water's not really an issue. If I were to do weeks worth of food, it would more than likely have to be freeze-dried meals that I would repackage, and I would reuse a single Mylar Mountain House pouch. I'd rinse it out each time, and when I repackage the Mountain House meals, the freeze-dried meals, I can vacuum pack those freeze-dried meals in individual servings, because a lot of those are 2.5 servings in the package. So it alleviates a tremendous amount of space when you do that. If you try to pack a week's worth of Mountain House meals, one for every meal of the day, breakfast, lunch, and supper. You're going to have almost a backpack full because of the packaging. That packaging, I mean, you can fold it, you can do what you want, but still it takes up a decent amount of space for what it is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break this down into 3 components. I'm going to break it down to my main pack, my lid, and my patrol bag. And with each one of these, they specialize in specific things, and I'm going to show you what the contents are in each one of these components. I'm going to break the components down and start showing them to you one at a time. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the main pack. I'm going to go ahead and pull things out, hold them up, tell you what they are, set them off to the side, and then once I'm finished doing that, then I'll do a layout so you can see everything that goes in this in one display. We're going to start with the water bottles. I have water bottle pouches on either side, and this one here has nested in the water bottle. These are the Hydro Pack water bottles I've been using a lot, and they work really, really well. I'm going to have to take a little sip out of this. That way it'll come out of that cup a little easier. And I nest that inside the cup to save space. And the insulator always gets stuck on the inside, and the lid is underneath the water bottle and the cup as it's nested. The other one is a little bit more finicky. It fits much more snugly than the other one does. And what I needed to do is I have a cook pot in here, a titanium cook pot, and it's a good bit larger. This is good for an Nalgene bottle size water bottle, titanium cook pot, and I used a bag from one of my other titanium cook pots to wrap around it so it fits a little bit better and it's easier to pull out. And then I have all of this nested inside the actual bag that goes with this particular cook pot. And I just pull this up and around the bail. When I insert it inside the water bottle pouch, I have this wrapped up around here so I can grab that, just pull the whole thing out. And underneath it, and this is a little more persnickety because it's pretty snug. I have a scrub pad. Grab the handle on the lid here. There we go. And we've got the lid for the cook pot. Those are on exterior water bottle pouches that I have in here. On this little area that's designed for the hydration pouch is my OPSEC poncho. On the interior, since this is pretty much my entire sleep system for the winter and a few accessories, everything goes in the pack, and no particular order because it's all pretty much coming out at the same time, so I don't have to think about how I'm going to stagger those. And this right here is my winter sleep kit, and I'm going to break that down individually for you in a few minutes. This is my extra insulation kit. My Swagman roll, which is extra insulation around camp, and also my insulation multiplier for my sleep system. My inflatable air mattress, and it is a Thermalite Reactor sleeping bag liner. I put this over top of my inflatable air mattress, and that helps retain a great deal of insulation, and it makes it much more comfortable to actually lay on than just the flat mat. So that mat, even though it has sort of a cloth-like texture, it still has the same type of effect as if you were laying straight on a rubberized mat. It will make you sweat a little bit. This right here adds insulation, and it also makes it a lot more comfortable to lay on that mat. This is the Snug Pack Special Forces 1. Also in this is the adapter zip for the complete system. And in the very bottom is the Special Forces 2 sleeping bag. And one side pocket down here at the bottom, these are the ones where the mortar tubes go in usually. I have a down jacket, and this is again another insulator, and I'll talk a little bit more about the insulation principles here in just a minute. And in the other mortar tube pouch are my 2 4-liter Hydro Pack water bottles. I damaged one and was able to repair it with just a little teeny tiny piece of flex tape. Worked beautifully. And these right here go in that other mortar pocket. And that is everything. Well, wait a minute. We forgot one of the most important things. I never leave home without it. My heavy-duty space blanket. I'm going to go ahead and lay this out, put everything on top of it, so you can see everything that goes in to the main pack. This is everything that goes into my main pack, and it doesn't completely fill it, as in I didn't like squish all this stuff down as snug as it would go. So it was packed in there fairly loosely, but it does completely fill the main compartment of that pack. And with the exception of this item and this item, this is the extra insulation and the water bladders, they went into the side mortar tube pockets, and the OPSEC poncho went into the flap on the outside. It's normally designed for the hydration pouch. And the one bad thing about affordable winter stuff is that it's going to be bulky. This obviously was not the top of the line down-filled insulation to where the Special Forces 1 would pack down into something like this, and where the Special Forces 2, if it was down-filled, would be something about the size of the Swagman roll. You know, you're going to get bulk. These items aren't as bulky as much less expensive items, but then again, this entire system's $600. Not exactly what you would consider to be cheap by any means, but when you look at the fact that you basically have 3 sleeping bags in one system, yes, you could probably get a decent down sleeping bag for rated for 0 degrees, as this system is, and much smaller, much lighter, be able to pack down much smaller for $600. You'd probably be able to do that okay. But when you are looking for something that you want to have one system that's going to take care of you for summer, fall, and winter, this is something you're going to need to go with. And like I said, the last system I had from Wiggy's, both of these combined in a bag would be smaller and about the same weight as the lightweight bag that went to that 2-part system. But here's the contents of the main bag. I'm going to show you what I keep in my winter sleep kit and my insulation, because you've already seen the rest of the stuff. And then we're going to go ahead and get my sleep system together and get it under the shelter. And I'm going to go ahead and put these items off to the side, and I'm going to show you what's in the lid and in my patrol bag. And then I'm going to have to start getting everything ready to put under shelter, because we're going to be losing light. Now this is the lid for my ILBE. I put things in here that I want to grab fairly quickly, like my battery pack for my camera stuff. And as you can see, I use my own advice. Got the hot hands in here, doing a good job keeping my batteries warm so they don't die. Just keep that over there loosely, so that way oxygen can get in there and keep the hand warmers activated. I have extra hand warmers. I have dry socks. I have wet ones, which is going to go into a bag with a hand warmer to keep those thawed out. I have, which this is my bag for the hand warmers or anything else that I want to throw in there, because this will breathe. It's cotton and will keep things warm. I have a pair of work gloves, fire starters, my Katahdin water filtration system for my Hydropack water bottles. I have some ibuprofen and some other supplements and medications, so I know where they are. I have my waterproof New Testament. I always try to find time to read that when I'm out. I have a headlamp, actually 2 headlamps. One is a good bit more expensive and a lot more rugged than the other one. The other one is an El Cheapo Energizer from Amazon. I think I got a 3-pack of these. They averaged out to about $9 a piece. They're actually really nice headlamps. Always have extras of those. Oh, another hand warmer. And an extra lighter. These lighters are something else. I like to have a lighter on hand all the time, regardless. But these lighters are ingenious in that they have a stem, so you can get in and light whatever you need to light fairly easily. This one's been used quite a bit. There we go. And there's just enough of a stem here to where you're not going to burn your thumb. Normally, like with a Bic lighter, your flames are coming out right here. You're lighting it and you have to hold it down to something, and the wind blows, you're going to burn your thumb. So that right there. And there's pseudo multicam, which even makes it more gooder. You know it does. And the last thing in here is just a hairbrush, because I have to keep my golden locks under control. Now my patrol bag is serving a couple different purposes. It contains what I consider to be my must-have items that I normally would carry, like in the summer months I carry on my bushcraft patrol rig. All the essentials that I need, that I take out to the field all the time, and it contains all of my cooking and food items. We'll go ahead and start with the outside pouch here. And to be perfectly honest with you, this is sort of a new setup for me, so I don't exactly remember where I put what, but I tried to put it in the most logical locations as I could. Okay. I have my dishwashing rag, dishwashing liquid. I have all of my snack and ready to go food items in here. I have coffee, I have granola bars, I have pouches of oatmeal, things like that I can just grab it, prepare it really quick. I don't have to dig for it. Really super simple calories. And I have one 5-hour energy, just in case I need one of those energy boosts. Okay, going with the main compartment. I have my 24-hour ration pack from Crow Studios, and I have yet to eat anything today. So the first meal I'm going to have is going to be my dinner entree from this, and I'll be preparing that here in a few. But that is one 24-hour ration pack. I have an extra breakfast and an extra dinner Mountain House meal. As you can see, these things, I mean, when you look at the contents of these, that's a lot of space, and you can try to compress it as much as you want. but you have at least twice the amount of space and you need for that amount of food. So when I separate these things out for longer periods and I put them in vacuum seal packages, this is a fraction of the size of these packages. So I just have one of the old school pouches I always keep extra, and I just rinse those out and reuse them for the next one. And when you're pouring boiling water in these to reconstitute the meals, I'm not so much worried about using the dishwashing liquid and the dish rag to wash those out. I rinse them out with boiling water, swish it around, empty it out, turn it upside down, let it dry, and that is more than sufficient for my needs to be able to reuse one of these pouches to reconstitute all of my freeze-dried meals that I repackage into vacuum sealed packages. This is all of my must-have things, the things I take out in the field with me all the time. Go through that in just a second. I have a windscreen, a titanium windscreen. I have my Mountain House meal koozie with a fork, a knife, and a spoon in there. I have my silky saw, and I have my dedicated all winter long firebox stove. And don't want to forget the packing list for my 24-hour ration that Bill made me from Crow Studios, and I'm definitely going to be using this little gem, this Kershaw knife, to open those up with. That right there, that is everything that was in the patrol bag. This is my must-have bag. This has everything I take to the field with me all the time. A lot of it is almost like survival type stuff that I don't use unless I absolutely need it. I have a decent hank of daisy chained 550 cord. I have a extended fire kit, and the reason I have an extended fire kit with me this time is tomorrow I want to play around with some flint and steel and some alternate fire making methods, and brought that along so I can do that. I always have my silky saw or a Baco Laplander, and I usually would have it all combined with this, but it's in the patrol bag. I have a Streamlight angle head flashlight, mega durable and very, very functional. A lot of different colors of lights on this. You can clip it, you can run a strap through it, 550 cord it to a tree, something like that, to angle it on something. And it also has a relatively flat base, so it will stay on its own if it's a flat surface. It's a great item. And another Streamlight headlamp. I'll have to do a review on those one of these days. I've had quite a few questions about them. This is my toiletries kit, and for an overnighter, I may not even use any of this until tomorrow morning. I'll brush my teeth. But in this, I have just your basic items. I have some soap, I have a microfiber towel, a toothbrush, toothpaste, floss, some medications, things like that. But just basic toiletries kit. This right here is a bag of plastic bags. I always bring this along so that way when I have any garbage or anything else like that, I can put those in those, tie them up, put them in a pack so that it doesn't cause a mess in my pack. And they're free. I get them every time I go to the grocery store. This is my first aid kit that I assembled. 100% of everything in here are things that I would actually use if the need arises. A lot of first aid kits have tons of things in there, most of which you would never use. You would have to have a highly specified purpose for using those. So that's my own assembled kit, and so far I've been very blessed where I've never had to use it. And I have a GI compression bandage there. I also have a quick clot bandage in there just in case something bad were to happen. I have more hand warmers. being winter, they are indispensable. I have a roll of Gorilla Tape. I have a sewing kit. I have this sewing kit. I have large needles and a thimble and some hank of waxed 3-ply linen thread, and that's strong enough to repair anything I would need to repair. And if I need something lighter, I just go ahead and cut off what I need, the length, and I separate the strands and use an individual strand to sew something that's smaller if I need to. And I have a hank that's probably about 40 feet of mule tape. That stuff is absolutely fantastic, and I found online a source that has it in different colors like olive drab, and I'm going to be ordering me some. This stuff, I just recently discovered it. This is absolutely amazing. It has 1,500 pounds tensile strength. It will it will far outperform 550 cord, and despite its tape-like appearance, its flat webbing type appearance, it'll tie just like 550 cord, and it will not stretch. 550 cord will stretch. This stuff right here, so far, I've not seen it stretch. Whether or not it can, I don't know, but I've been very impressed with that. And I have my little folding trowel. This has come in handy many times. Of course, you use it to dig cat holes, you use it to dig out fire pits, any type of digging needs. But one time I forgot my spoon, and I wound up using this after I cleaned it off to use as a spoon to eat my food with. But those are the items I always take with me out in the field, and a lot of the times I've never had the purpose to have to pull them out, but to have these things on hand just in case I need them is absolutely indispensable. I'm going to go ahead and demo how I set up the sleep system exactly the way it's going to be in my shelter. Unfortunately, my camera lens will not afford me the ability to be able to film inside the shelter so you can actually see me setting it up there. So once I get everything set up, I'm just going to drag everything inside of it and peg down the corners of my heavy-duty space blanket, and that will be my sleep system for this evening. This is the adapter for the system, and this is the Special Forces 1 sleeping bag. And with this, I'm going to go ahead and attach the adapter to this, and then I will bring you back. One of my subscribers commented and told me that I had this backwards, and if I would have been thinking, it would have made perfect sense to me. The lighter sleeping bag goes to the exterior of the sleep system, and the reason being is so that all of the nice collar and extra insulation that is on the Special Forces 2 sleeping bag for cold weather is around you. Where I had it before, you couldn't actually use any of that because this was in the way. I'm going to go ahead and put this on and zip this into place on top of it, and then I'm going to show you how I insert my sleeping pad and get that in here, so that way I have a lot of insulation underneath me and the whole system will be ready to go. Now, I went ahead and did those steps just simply so I would save some time, because we'll be losing light here pretty soon. Now, just to clarify, the heavier bag goes to the inside of the lighter bag. So when you look at the zip sections, there is an inside zip and an outside zip for the adapter. The inside zip goes to the heavy bag, the outside zip goes to the lighter bag. That way it wraps around it and you can access any of the zippers you need to in that time. I also have my inflatable air mattress fully inflated. Usually I don't like to inflate it that much, but the cold is actually going to deflate it to some degree, because the air that came out of my lungs are warm and it's going to cool down. And so you want to max that out the max you can, because it is going to deflate just a little bit because of the cold. I put my thermolite reactor around that, cinched it up so it will not come off. I'm going to slide that between my outer bag and my inner bag, and it pretty much centers itself. That's the nice thing about this mummy style sleep system, is that, you know, your sleeping mat, sleeping pad will go in there pretty much self-centering, so you don't have to worry about adjusting it to be in the middle of your back. And I started my adapter zip a moment ago. There we go. Minimal snags here. Here we go. Everything is perfectly centered, and all I have to do is unzip the center zip, and I can get in and enjoy my warmth and my comfortable night's sleep. The only other thing that I need to do is to make certain that I'm properly accoutered and dressed for a good night's sleep. And I'm going to go ahead and bring you in closer to show you what's in my sleep system. One thing I definitely wanted to point out is that all of the straps, all the bags, everything that I take off of all of this, all go inside one another so that I have track of all the bags. So when I'm ready to pack this stuff up, everything is in one bag in one spot, and I don't get it lost, and I don't spend time looking for them. Now, my sleeping system, apart from my Special Forces sleeping system, this is my sleep kit. It's in a waterproof dry bag, and I have a decent mid-weight sleep shirt, moisture wicking, nice and warm. I have a pair of Tech Weight silk bottoms from Polar Tech. These are close to about 25 years old, and they are still incredibly warm. And the only thing that's wrong with them is there's some holes in the crotch, which I consider to be necessary ventilation. But these things are super warm, and they were very expensive when I bought them, 25 plus years ago. But as you can see, there's not a single hole anywhere on here other than the crotch. So definitely a good investment. I have a pair of heavy wool socks. Those right there, come up against the thigh. Always put good dry socks on when I'm ready for bed, and it just makes things a whole lot more comfortable. I have an additional pair of glove liners that I wear, so that way I can undo the zips, things like that, to be able to get things that's outside of the tent, not outside of the tent, outside of my sleeping bag, that's been exposed to the cold and things like that, so that way I can have manipulation and dexterity with my fingers and still be able to get what I need when I need it. And when it's really good and cold, a good old-fashioned heavyweight balaclava. This right here has been used several times when it's dipped below freezing. And all of these things go inside one bag, and I keep those in my sleeping bag until I'm ready to put them on, so that way I don't have to go looking for them, and I know exactly where they are. And I can switch out of my base layers that I'm wearing now, ball those up, put them inside the toe of my sleeping bag, put on dry clothes, so that way I'm good and warm, I'm not damp in any way, shape, or form, and I can either wear those out the next day, or I can switch them back out the next morning, because all of my clothes will have been in my sleeping bag with me, and they would still be warm. I'm pretty sure I showed you all of the kit that I wanted to show you this evening. And right now it's pushing 5 o'clock, which means I'll probably have about an hour's max of usable light left. So I'm going to use that time to go ahead and reshore up all the tarps, because all of them have been exposed to all the weather environment and things like that, the snow, the ice, everything else. And I just need to tighten everything up so that's way it's good and snug for the night. Get my sleep system and my sleep shelter, and then gather up the wood I need to make the fire. I have a bunch of wood already processed. It's underneath the tarp. All I got to do is gather that up, put it on the fire pit, be able to get a fire going. And once I get all my camp chores done, then I'm probably going to be able to have my first meal of the day, which will be Crow Studios dinner entree. Before I get doing all that, I feel like I have been beat savagely. All of the stuff that I did earlier in the day at the secret fun spot wore me out. It really, walking on the ice, falling on the ice, slipping in the mud, everything else, all with my complete ILBA and everything, all the contents and everything. And I never took it off. So when you slip or you trip, when you're just walking around with just your regular clothes on, well, you know, that's one thing. But when you've got about 50 pounds on your back, trying to fight for stability and to try to fight to stay upright when your body wants to go down, it's taking its toll on me today. I feel like I've been beat savagely. Kneeling down, doing these demos, getting back up, it felt like I had already done an entire leg press workout at the gym, and to the point to where my muscles were like burning, and then, you know, the soreness afterwards. But I really am looking forward to some food, and also to be able to get in a good, warm, dry sleeping bag tonight. And I'll be taking ibuprofen. Make no mistake about it. I'll be taking me some ibuprofen tonight, and hopefully I won't be crying trying to get out of my sleeping bag tomorrow morning. I'm going to go ahead and get things tidied up around camp, and then as soon as I'm ready to start that MRE that Bill made for me, I'll go ahead and bring you back for that. Now I've got all of the tarps tightened. I got everything secured. I got my bedding put in my sleep shelter. Got the fire ready to go, and this fire is an upside down fire. I absolutely love them because they burn low and slow. And this fire right here, if I'm counting by layers, I've got about three and a half to maybe 4 hours of slow, good burn time. Right now it is about 5:40, and once it starts getting good and dusky, I'm gonna go ahead and light that. And I've got layered up from my largest split pieces of firewood all the way up to smaller. Then I have large branches crisscrossed, and then I have like a little log cabin type of thing going on here. I have my fire starters inside there, and some small twigs up on top to be able to catch. I have about layer about I'd say about 3 inches of small stuff on there. So all I got to do is light those fire starters, and it's done. It's done. These twigs that are on top, as they burn and they start falling through, and the sticks that were burning underneath the fire starters, that's going to start everything. It's probably going to take about a half an hour for this to get down to the next decent sized layer of wood. And at that point, I have a good campfire for the entire night. Before it gets too dark, I want to go over what I'm wearing. And this is exactly what I wore this morning when I was over at the secret fun spot, hiking around, things like that. Everything got soaked. And I layered off while I was in my Jeep driving back to here. And for the most part, it dried out pretty good. almost every single thing I'm wearing in some degree is naturally moisture wicking. Therefore, my body heat is actually going to produce a lot of moisture evaporation. Now, as far as my base layer goes, I have a -33 is the brand name, merino wool, lightweight top, lightweight bottoms. I have a pair of skivvies on, also moisture wicking. I have a pair of sock liners. Sock liners are fantastic in that they leach out a lot of that moisture away from your feet. And I've got a pair of wool socks on. I have a pair of Keen cold weather boots. These are winter boots designed specifically for cold weather. They are the only pair of Keens I've ever owned to last more than 6 months. And the reason being, I only wear them once in a while in the winter. But my feet stay amazingly warm in these. I have a pair of Wrangler flexible pants. It's a flex fabric. It's stretchy. It's a lot of spandex in it. Also moisture wicking. Everything I have keeps me relatively warm when it's cold and relatively cool when it's hot, and it moves with me and it breathes. I have a pair of Gore-Tex gaiters on, and it helps keep my boots dry, helps keep my feet, ankles, lower legs warm. I have an anorak on. It's nothing more than a cotton poplin that I have treated with silicone spray. And on top of my base layer shirt, my merino wool shirt, I have a thin button-up long sleeve, oh, I forget the brand name, got it at Sam's Club. It's designed to be a fishing shirt, and the best thing about it is it's fairly warm when it's cool, it breathes when it's hot, and it is also moisture wicking. Everything I have other than my anorak is moisture wicking. A cap of any type is going to hold in some degree of warmth in your body. This one, since it's not ventilated, holds in a little bit more. It's not moisture wicking, so you need to put it by the fire to dry it, or it will freeze overnight. And but other than that, that's what I'm wearing. It's either in the upper teens at the moment, or it's in the lower 20s. One or the other. I have no way of knowing. I've talked about this in videos in the past, but acclimation is the most important thing for me in my winter camping. I have extra layers just in case. Rarely ever do I pull them out. Primarily because I'm rarely ever sedentary until I go to bed. And when I'm up and moving around and things like that, I don't want a lot of layers on me to, cause me to sweat. I sweat enough just the way it is right here. But the nice thing about it, it's a small amount of sweat that will evaporate off and through the layers of fabrics that I have. And I stay relatively comfortable. The only times that I really get a chill, is when the wind is really blowing, or when I'm really wet. That's it. Those are the only times I ever really feel really cold. When we did our sub-zero, it's 18 degrees below zero, I pretty much had the same thing on, except I had a fairly thick fleece pullover on underneath my top layer. Other than that, everything else was exactly the same. If you have calories in you, which I need to get some in me, you have calories in you, you allow yourself to acclimate to the temperatures, you're going to be fairly comfortable. The worst thing in the world you can do is bundle up and then head out, because you will not be warm the rest of the time you're out. When I head out moving, I have as minimal amount of clothing on as I can possibly have and still have some degree of comfort. 15 minutes into my hike, I will be more than warm enough. more than warm enough. I could be really chilling and shivering and really, really cold when I first get that stuff on. But once I head out, I am good and warm through the activity. And then when I stop, I take the top layer off. I allow that moisture to evaporate off of there, and then I'm comfortable for the rest of the time. And even though this campfire is going to be going on this evening, I'm not going to be hugging it. The closest I'm going to get to it's probably about 6 feet. Just enough for me to have some of the light, have some of the ambiance, smell some of the wood smoke. But once I start feeling warm from the fire, I want to get away from it. I've had bad experiences hugging a fire and then having to walk away from it to my camp to be able to go to sleep. By the time I get there, convulsive shivers, you know, doing everything I have to do to get into my sleep system, and then, you know, get in there. It takes 15-20 minutes for me to actually stop shivering. So I've learned a long time ago not to hug the fire. It's pretty, I love having it, but it's definitely nothing I'm going to use for actual warmth unless I actually need warmth. Anyway, that's what I'm wearing. That's pretty much what I always wear. That may change one garment for the other, but they're essentially the same things. Just thought I'd share that with you. It's just about 6 o'clock, and I'm ready to eat my first meal of the day, which is the one-person dinner entree that Crow Studios provided for me. I'm going to go ahead and open this up, and we're going to see what's in it. All right, let's open this up. Now, according to the shipping list, this is a one-person dinner, which has a vegetable beef mix, dried potatoes, armor meat, Goya seasoning, coffee, Swiss Miss, and airborne tablet. One thing I did notice is that the vacuum seal has failed. It's no longer airtight like it was. So, you know, that right there. The other two are perfectly fine. Let's just go ahead and open this up with this wonderful little Kershaw knife that was provided. Just going to open that right up. Pretty decently sharp. There we go. Now this right here looks like the 4 ounces of vegetable beef soup. You had 3.5, I would say that's probably 3.5 ounces of boiling water to it. And let's see, we got some coffee here. And depending on how it's going, I might wind up drinking that tomorrow. Maybe we'll have the Swiss mix. We'll see. Maybe we'll mix them together. Yeah, we'll make a night of it. Here we have 2 ounces of mashed potatoes. That would be actually pretty good to just get mixed straight in with the soup. That'd be pretty good. Thicken it up a little bit. And these are some freeze-dried apples. I have some Goya seasoning. It looks to be, let's see, it's in Espanol. I haven't got a clue. That's okay. No habla. And some armored potted meat. That is mega calories. I used to call this the Appalachian pate. I used to love this stuff. Put this on saltines. I'd eat these things all the time when I was younger. Absolutely loved them. Blast from the past. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and set up my firebox stove, and we're going to go ahead and get some boiling water going. Now my upside down fire has been burning for approximately 1 hour. Look at it. Look at that. That is providing an excellent amount of heat, and it's burning fuel very, very efficiently. I lit that a little bit after 6, maybe about 7 after 6. Right now it's 6 till 7. So almost an hour, just that top layer is producing all those coals that are going to come down and continue to burn all of those large pieces of firewood. I'm going to have a late night tonight as it is, because I'm still cooking my supper, and by the time I go to bed it's still going to be burning, and by morning I'll have a good bed of coals. This is the fire at about 2 hours, and it's burnt through pretty much through the top layer, and it's down to the 3rd layer. There's a 4th layer underneath that, so it's definitely going to be burning well enough until I go to bed. So I have a nice fire to eat my supper with, and then I can head on to bed and dream sweet dreams. Well, folks, Murphy's Law shot me again. Always gets me. I just shot an entire sequence of me divvying out all the food from the menu that Bill made for me, and I didn't have the microphone on. Trying to conserve those batteries while I can with the extreme cold. But I'm going to go ahead and try to make lemonade out of lemons, and go back over what I went over before. First of all, the stew. I've been keeping it by the fire to keep it warm. This stew is most definitely enough stew for 2, possibly 3 people, easily. And it is quite delicious. Very hearty with all the ingredients we put in there, the seasoning packet, the potatoes, the soup, the potted meat, and the flavor is absolutely fantastic. And even though there's enough food there for 3 people, for smaller servings, I'll probably wind up eating it all night, because this will be my one meal for the day. I also reconstituted the freeze-dried apples. I boiled some water, put the boiling water in here. I've been keeping it in a fire ring to keep it fairly warm. I'll try those here in just a second. And I made myself a good cup of coffee with 2 big scoops of the instant coffee he provided, and the entire package of the Swiss Miss. And go ahead and even though I've been eating this like a fiend, I'm going to go ahead and do one for the camera. Everything is cooked perfectly. The dehydrated vegetables that was in this are perfect. They're firm, but they're not hard. They're not chewy. Absolutely fantastic. There's rice and pasta in this, and the potatoes was just the right amount of potatoes to sort of thicken it up just a little bit. The seasoning packet, the Goya seasoning packet, wow, I'm going to have to get some of that stuff to put in all kinds of things. It was just the right amount of seasoning for this amount of food to give it a little bit of a kick. And I don't read Spanish, so I have no idea what the package said, but it reminded me of like a cross between taco seasoning and chili seasoning, and it's delicious. And of course, adding the potted meat fortifies those calories, the fat that you really need in weather conditions like this, because it's cold. I'll be perfectly honest with you, it's just flat out cold. I would say that our forecast of being low teens, 10 degrees, I think that's going to dip a little bit lower. But
This is fantastic. And this is an insulated cup or bowl, and you saw it steaming when I poured it out. I've got the kettle sitting right beside the fire, so it's chilling really quick. Let's go ahead and try these apples. Oh, they still feel good and warm. These packages are fantastic because they're Mylar. He can seal them. It has a Ziploc on them, so once you open it, you can zip it closed again, so you don't have to worry about anything spilling. And they're pleated on the bottom, so it's a freestanding container, which I love because I do not like doing dishes when I'm camping. It's a necessity, you got to do it, but it's not one of those things I enjoy, because it's not like doing dishes at home. You have to get a little creative or bring extra stuff to do it. Wow, look at that. Those taste just like stewed apples. The only thing that these need, the only thing at all, is a little bit of cinnamon. The sweetness is there, the flavor's there, but just have that little bit of a flavor enhancer of some cinnamon. It'd be absolutely fantastic. Now I'm going to double dip this video with another video I'm shooting this weekend, just because it's my supper. And I've talked about this whole thing of trying out these meals in that video too. But this will be my first meal from Crow Studios and budget entrees. And even though it took a little bit of time to cook and to prepare, more than anything else because of the extreme cold. If I would have had a liquid gas burner, if I would have had even an isobutane stove, this would have gone so much faster. But all I brought with me was the alcohol stove, and they just they don't perform as well in cold temperatures. And but everything was doable, everything was done. It just took a little bit more time, and I'll be perfectly honest with you, it was definitely worth the wait. This stuff is absolutely fantastic. So, Brother Bill, this entree was definitely a good one. And this will be my first one. I'm going to have my breakfast tomorrow, and I'm going to also have my lunch and around noontime. I'm going to go ahead and finish this up while it's still warm. And for my field ration video, this will be my first one, and I'll see you tomorrow for breakfast. And for my other video, well, I'm double dipping. This is supper. And I have Swiss mocha. 2 scoops of instant coffee. I still have more than plenty there. There's another 2 scoops in there for breakfast if I want it, if I need it. And 1 whole package of the Swiss Miss. Oh, this is excellent. And right now, I don't really care if I fall asleep a little bit later than what I normally would having the coffee. It tastes fantastic. It feels fantastic in me, warming me up. So everything's great. Well, folks, this has been a very long day. It's been a very very enlightening, educational experience for me. I experienced a lot of frustration during the first part of the day, and it was unfortunate that I was not able to do what I wanted to do at the secret fun spot in the rock shelters
which would be absolutely phenomenal. But you know, there's that point in time to where you have to weigh out the balance, and sometimes the scale falls in favor of something that's not quite as exciting, but is most definitely more prudent. There was a lot of places that I looked for rock shelters, and a younger me definitely would have tried it. But where I am now, I have a lot of responsibilities. I have a lot of people that depend upon me, and I can't make those decisions anymore. I can't make those types of decisions that puts me in jeopardy. I can't do it. And as much as I would have loved to have been on one of those rock shelters today, I would have gotten so much more accomplished, so much more to share. It wouldn't have been nearly as rushed. But it wasn't worth it. It wasn't worth it. Hopefully this video will turn out okay. Hopefully some of you will like it. Even though it's not what I wanted, this is pretty nice. This is pretty nice. Beautiful evening. A little cold. No, it's not a little cold. It's very cold. It's very cold. But it's manageable. It's manageable. I haven't even put any of my extra insulation layers on. I'm cool. I'm just at that comfort zone, and I haven't left that comfort zone yet. I'm just at the point to where a little bit more wind, a little bit more cold. Yeah, I'll pull some more out. But yeah, I have to say it's turned out to be a pretty good day. Had a fantastic supper. I was able to, you know, go over my semi-permanent camp, shore everything up, restock my my wood supply a little bit. It's been very relaxing. It's been enjoyable for me. And, I think I'm going to go ahead and finish up my coffee from my supper, and it looks to me it's about 8:30, and as long as my coffee doesn't keep me up, I think I'll be headed to bed around 9. There's not really a whole lot more I can share with you with virtually no light. And I don't think you want to spend a whole lot of time just watching me stare at the fire. So, I think I'm going to go ahead and call it a night for the video. I wish all of you well, and God's blessing upon you all. I'll see you in the morning.